Hey, welcome to the Integrated EdTech podcast. I'm David Berner, joined by co-host Jeremy Mikla. And today we have some awesome people that we met at ISTE actually this last year. Diede and Kara Rigsby from Integrated. They have a company. And it was kind of funny because we didn't actually plan it. We just happened to be looking at TikTok and you had your stuff on there and you saw some of our stuff and we were like, hey, we should meet up. So you can actually check out a short little conversation of our time at ISTE together if you go to our YouTube channel, or you can listen on podcasts too. But we want to just welcome you to the podcast, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited for this conversation.
Okay, so we want to kind of get started and talk just a little bit about your journey, because Integrated is something that you've created and you're doing it together and you're very involved in that. But let's just take a step back, like before that. And Megan, we'll maybe start with you. What were you doing before that, leading up to this?
Yeah, well, I was in the classroom. I was second grade teacher, just living my best life with those kids and raising children of my own, and kind of just getting into the art of teaching, right? And just trying to figure out what works best for myself as an educator and what was working really well for them. And just, the day-to-day life of teaching. And then I kind of got involved in our district and was doing different work with like developing curriculum for science, did some things with their literacy stuff. And it just kind of was something that I just really got intrigued by. So really involved with what I was doing in the education space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've thrown it back that far. That's a long time ago. But very similar to Meg, I started off my teaching career in kindergarten and had moved up to first grade. And just similar, just living life as a primary educator. And I too had been involved with some curriculum work with our district and the university here in Wyoming. And so that is kind of what started the whole, the path to where we are today, honestly. And it nothing too crazy. We were just two teachers living our best lives in the classroom and doing a little extra curriculum work for the district on the side.
I think, though, what had happened is that we didn't actually know each other doing this curriculum work, nor did we teach in the same grade, but we were in the same building. Mm-hmm. And one day I was wanting to run, right? I had two little children. I was working full time and my husband was doing shift work. And I was like, I think I should just start running. That should help mentally. And so I announced in the lounge of the teacher's lounge, I said, does anybody want to start to run? And no one said anything. It was dead quiet. And poor Kara, she was like, I would help. I would run. And so we just started meeting at the gym, and we started meeting every afternoon and just started to run. And during that time, we had a lot of conversation around families, getting to know each other, definitely around work. It didn't take very long to get into the work conversation. And that's kind of how we kind of became best friends in that space, is a lot of running. I did a lot of talking. Kara did a lot of listening.
So you could kind of say you ran into each other almost, right?
Oh, yes.
You're so funny.
Yeah. Thanks to my dad. But so you spent a lot of time, obviously you mentioned you were like working out together, and then that just turned into a lot of conversations, and then you started to figure out like, oh, we could actually make something of this. We have chemistry together. We're talking about curriculum, things we can do with curriculum. What was like, and we follow you on the different socials, and if you're not, everybody that's listening, make sure you follow Integrated on socials. But the content that you have now, I mean, you've been traveling around, you've been doing a lot of these seminars and things like that during the summer in various states. But what about at the beginning though? Like, what was the first thing where you were like, hey, this is going to be an event that we're going to tackle, and we're going to start this thing?
Oh, well, before that, even the one event that kind of tipped us off even to thinking that we could do this, we were nominated and then accepted into a teacher leadership academy together, which does not happen very often, where, you know, friends, teammates get accepted together. And then after our work there, we're like, we could do something with this. And then one of the requirements was for us to share our work that we did with the academy. And Meg was like, let's apply to this conference. And we did not know that this conference was actually a national conference, and it turned out to be the Innovative School Summit. And so we skipped straight over, you know, district, local, state, and went right into the national, not knowing.
You know, that was really great. I think it was a perfect opportunity. We're a very small town, live in Wyoming. And to be honest with you, I always thought that speakers in education that got on main stage or did the work that we're doing now, they were like the chosen ones somehow. They were just like handpicked, and then they were the people. So when we first started this work, we just really, our goal was just to share it with as many educators as we could, because what we were doing in our classrooms were really working not only for the students, but for ourselves. We were feeling more joy. I was excited to go to class. I was excited for the kids to be there and what I was going to teach them. And they started to be very excited to be in the class, and their scores were going up and less behaviors were happening. So teacher burnout wasn't really an issue anymore. And so to not share that with our fellow educators seemed like we were doing them a disservice. So we applied. We spoke to 6 entire people. One principal actually came back and saw us again. We were accepted back into the innovative schools in Las Vegas. And that's kind of where we kind of decided we're not going to let this go. We're going to really see what we can do with this. And that was almost 6 years ago.
I think you probably then doubled the number of people that attended the first session at like a outside of my own district type of a conference that I presented at. I think I had 3.
Yeah.
And we were very intimate, and then, you know, like got to know each other pretty well before we, you know, then talked about whatever that content was back at that time. But yeah, so I totally get where you're going. But yet, you know, I think it's a great way to kind of get started together. So you began kind of your journey together presenting at this conference, but then it definitely morphs into something bigger after that, right? You've partnered together to form, you know, the Integrated Edu platform. You've got a book that I think I can see, you know, in the video over the top of your heads. Yep. So can you tell us a little bit about how did you go to, you know, from being co-presenters at a conference to like creating this platform together?
Well, I think what happened was that we started collaborating very well together. I was teaching second grade, Kara's in first grade. Our principal let us teach together, which turned out to be a blessing. And so we started teaching more together, and then we realized we need to take this further. And then we started to speak. And a part of me, business-wise, was like, well, we have to look like we know what we're doing in order for people to take us seriously. And so then that's kind of where the business name came into play, and all these pieces. We met actually another international speaker. His name is Stand Tall Steve, or Stephen Bowler. And he kind of helped us get started on this journey of what does it even look like to make this into something other than just talking to other educators. So we've been working with him for quite a while. And now we get to coach other speakers, educational people that want to do this work. And I think that the business started to grow when we really started to see educators use what we were doing and telling us that it was working. I mean, that is fuel when someone can say, hey, I've tried this and it's bringing me joy, or it's working for the students, or this is the outcome of this. And so you kind of just keep going, and it's something that you don't give up on. I don't know.
Well, and I think too, a powerful piece is we were friends first, and then we were teaching partners. And then, you know, we added another level of business partners, presenters as well. And so just to have that solid foundation and just kind of knowing each other and how we operate, you know, strengths, weaknesses, you know, preferences, all of that in a working space, it also has allowed us to grow rather quickly, just because, you know, there's 2 of us. And so we use that unfair advantage sometimes, just because we can divvy tasks, we can, play on each other's strengths, which they're complete opposites, which works well. But and so just kind of also having that foundation, and then we have found that we make a really great team. And then with the coaching and just having lots of mentors and support along the way have allowed us to grow, which is pretty amazing.
I think one of the things, like if I look at David and I with the Integrate This and yours with the Integrate Ed, how do you see that name Integrate fitting into it? For us, it was very much, integrating technology in effective ways in the classroom for learning and instruction. I mean, are you looking at it the same way, or is your Integrate part of your name kind of come from a different, different place?
Well, I'm so happy that you asked that question. When we first started this, when we came up with Integrated, it was because our framework is all about how to integrate content purposefully, how we can take all the core content, integrate them together, and kind of have this beautiful teaching experience for everyone. And funny how that started it. And as we continued to get into our work and working with each other and the business, we realized that our lives are very much integrated, that everything about what we do is very purposeful. Our 3 values, one of the word is purposeful. And we're always thinking, if we're not doing it purposefully, why are we doing it? And we realized that all of our life is just really integrated together, business, personal. So it's kind of became something that was just once just a business idea, and now something that we very much hold on to.
Yeah, it started off as just kind of that idea of holding true to that content piece, but yet as we grow, we're like, wow, it's so fitting because it fits so many different aspects now. Even in business, it's not just integrating content, it's so many other things, as well as into our personal lives and our friendship as well. So, what started off as a fun idea has morphed into like, wow, you didn't realize how powerful it was going to be later down the road. And it's really just kind of grown with us. And we've come to realize that it fits us really well.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. And I'll dive a little bit deeper here before I turn it over to David for the next part. But, you talk about trying to create learning experiences that will last a lifetime. So what's the importance of, bringing content and bringing activity and bringing experiences to students that they're going to remember long after they leave, one of your classrooms?
Mouse in the boot.
Mouse in the boot. So that's a loaded question. And a big piece of this is we want students to take what they're learning and take it out to the recess, to take it home to the dinner table, to have conversations over the weekend. And when you can create that type of connection, students are going to remember the information that you're teaching them. It's not just a fill in the blank worksheet anymore. It's not just sit and get and understand this and it leaves somewhere. It's creating an environment in your classroom that's purposeful for them to learn and have an experience around that. And that's very small shifts in our instruction to make that possible into big things, where you're talking about PBL type learning. But we are so prized on taking what you already have in your classroom and creating an experience that fits your students sitting right in front of you that year. It's finding those moments for them that you can connect to the content that they need to learn that feels relevant to them. It excites them about what they're learning. And then that way, it's not our olden days where we all dissected a frog at some point in time. And that's the only thing we remember from our childhood is dissecting a frog. And I want that to be every day you're walking away with some type of an experience in your learning that you will have and hold on to for a very long time.
We talk a lot about how that word experience, the definition is literally to gain knowledge through participation and observation. And we do that in our personal everyday lives. Is we always talk about we want to create experiences for ourselves, for our families. But yet when we walk into the school building, a lot of times that's what gets left out. And so we are on the path to, that's how we should be instructing our kids, because if they are observing and participating in these learning experiences, we're going to be able to help them grow in knowledge as students and then also as individuals as well. So that's kind of the basis of what we try to help educators with. And like Meg said, we're not another program. It's not another curriculum, but rather we take what you have, we mold it to what you need. So that way you can feel successful and not feel that burnout.
So as you kind of develop things and you have the book and there's the 7 pathways of learning. And what can you tell us a little bit, maybe just like a short little synopsis of those 7 pathways? And if you want to just give us like a rundown of what they are.
Yeah. So the 7 pathways are the different paths that students might need in order to get to understanding a certain concept or idea. It could be something like storytelling, movement, visual arts, music. And there's 7 of those. And when you make small shifts in your instruction and bring in a different way to teach a piece of content, you're giving your students a multiple pathway to get to the same destination. So maybe your students, you have movers, right, that never stop moving. And excuse me, when those students start to move a lot, that's their pathway. They need to move to maybe understand a difficult concept. And so putting in a small shift in that, whether it's using their bodies to show a vocabulary word or to show a process for a cycle, what would it look like if? And they can showcase with their bodies with that, you've moved them purposefully. And then when you need them to sit still for other things, they're more able to do that. So it's just using those different pathways in a 1% shift.
Mm-hmm. Those pathways, we always talk about how it creates multiple access points for students to get into the content. And it's a way that we can naturally differentiate our instruction to create strong tier 1. We always know that the best intervention is strong tier 1 instruction. And so that is our goal with that, is to naturally differentiate. It engages students and then ultimately will lead to that growth just by making those small shifts and creating that the multiple access points for students to be able to showcase their knowledge or access content in a different way.
Yeah, and you had talked to us too. I remember just thinking back to our conversation at ISTE as well, as like the goal is student engagement, right? So is it right to say that like your ultimate goal is student engagement, and you're thinking about all students, and so therefore we're looking at 7 different pathways so we can provide opportunities to ultimately reach student engagement and get that for as many students as possible. Is that a safe way to put it?
I think that engagement is an outcome, not a strategy. So as much as we want student engagement, right? And student engagement invites connection invites learning. And so when we provide these different ways, students just naturally get engaged, and we're not trying to engage them by putting on some type of show or big activities that are just filling the time. It is something that comes out of the way that we intentionally design.
Mm-hmm. And I would say too, with the purposeful design, the outcome is a student engagement. And then our ultimate goal for any educator is going to be to see your students grow. And so, but in order to get there, what's one step back is student engagement. One step back than that is what's your design. And so it kind of is the formula to reach our ultimate goal of growth. But you have to start at the beginning, which is purposeful design. The outcome is student engagement, and then you'll reach your goal of seeing that student growth.
Okay, yeah. And if you're looking at so teachers and you've done this in your own classrooms too, and you've taken teachers through how they can create student engagement, or create things that have that be the outcome. What does that typically look like? So if you think about the seminars that you do, or just the experiences you've created in your own class, what does that look like? What's different from somebody walking into that classroom versus like a classroom that's not doing that?
I don't know if you would be able to see it right away, but the behind the scenes of that is you're not just taking a scripted curriculum and and doing day one, day two, and following this that doesn't fit you as the teacher, your authentic teaching style, and then fit the kids that are sitting in front of you right now. We do what we call as an engagement check, and that is, are your students truly engaged? If a leader walks into one classroom and says, well, are these students learning and are they engaged? What do you even look for when you see that? And students are collaborating, right? They're having discussion with each other. They're asking questions of each other. They're understanding what they're learning, not because there's an I can statement on the front of the board, but because they're letting you know that I understand this because of this, or this is what we're doing. And I think that is true engagement, and that can look very different. It can look very quiet, where students are maybe, for lack of better terms, more organized in the classroom, or it could look a little bit more loud and chaotic. It just depends on what type of teacher that you have standing in front of them.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of that too, what might be a little bit different as well, is you might see the same content being taught, but it's how either the students are accessing that content or showcasing their knowledge with that content is where the difference could lie as well. You know, they could be accessing it through an experience. They could be demonstrating knowledge through multiple pathways, rather than if someone was not using those ideas, it could just be, you know, worksheets or submitting things on their tablet, Chromebooks, whatever that might be. So it really just kind of depends. So that might just be one of the differences as well, is just kind of the same content, but how it's being showcased or how it's being delivered.
Yeah.
And designed, yes.
Is there something that at like a baseline level that any teacher could do to start that process right away? So, you know, obviously there's like you've mentioned, there's a lot of different ways that this could look, but is there something that typically you would start teachers with that are just unfamiliar with this idea, or maybe even pulling something from your book where it's like, start here, you know, is there something you can give us there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry. Our book is a great resource to start. There's 80 plus ideas in the back to take these different pathways or experiences and make it fit your classroom. But also, when it comes to the pathways and having that understanding, we all learn by a specific pathway that is our favorite, right? That when we sit down for professional development or we go in to learn something, we're taking away a certain piece of that, and that's how we learn best by. And more times than not, teachers, that's what they're going to gravitate towards. For me, it's visual arts. Anytime that I can bring in any type of visual art piece to get my students connected, it's an easy plug-in for me. Whereas Kara is more music. So we ask our teachers to start where they feel most comfortable, but making very small 1% shifts. It's a 2-minute change in a lesson, right? In a day, it's only 15-minute difference. And it's taking maybe the way that you hook your students differently into a lesson. The 1% could be how you are letting them show their knowledge at the end of a lesson instead of an exit ticket. Maybe they do a movement piece or a visual arts piece. We ask teachers to kind of start with something small, because a lot of times if you overhaul an idea and you try to redo everything, you get burnt out and nothing becomes successful.
Yep. That's where the idea of those 1% shifts came in. We also do, when we speak, we have, it's called a guide to micro shifts, where you're just simply taking one pathway a week for about 4 weeks and just trying something with one pathway for 1 week, just to kind of dip your toe in. Because like Meg said, a lot of times we are one of those people that we love an idea and we just dive into the deep end with it right away. But a lot of times educators can feel overwhelmed by that, and they try, and then they're like, this didn't work, and then nothing changes after that, and they go back to how they had taught before. So encouraging just those small 1% changes, so that way you can feel successful, and eventually those will start to build up and you'll start to use multiple pathways throughout all your lessons.
Like, I'm thinking back to a word that one of you said earlier. I don't remember which one of you, but as one of your values, purposeful. Right. And so these 1% shifts that you're talking about, to me, seem like they're being very much implemented with a purpose behind it, a purpose to improve something in instruction, or improve, you know, how you're trying to get to that outcome of engaged students. Right. Is that, am I putting words in your mouth, or does that connect?
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what it is. I am such a firm believer on, if we're not doing it purposefully, why are we doing it? We do not have time to do things to fill the time, nor do I want to take the time to make things to fill the time. It just, everything has to be purposeful. And, you know, a big piece of that right now is technology, right? There's so much amazing things out there. And I think a lot of times we just grab and grab and grab and grab. And we think, well, what is purposeful for what we're doing? What's the outcome? And why do we need it? So yes, every bit about everything we do. I think that's why our relationship is so strong in business, and is that we constantly make sure that the ideas that we have and the things that we're doing are purposeful, not only for ourselves, but the people that we're giving it to.
Do you ever walk into a school or into a classroom and just see where they appear chaotic, or maybe it's just because things are being done inconsistently? And, you know, like, what are some of those things that you observe when you walk in that you immediately, the alarm bells go off and the red flags go up and you say, this isn't improving anything?
Ooh, this is probably not going to sit with everyone, but I'm going to say it. Small group instruction, like centers, they just don't work well. I don't know how else to say that better. I think what happens is centers, and when we try to meet the needs and differentiate for all students, and we create centers for them, and then they rotate, and only one of those centers is an adult, you have lost all the other kids. And now they're just doing things to do things. It's back to that purposefulness. It's a lot of time on teachers to make all of these centers and to make all the things for the centers and change them out. And we're not purposefully using our time, which the teacher becomes frustrated with that. Kids become behaviors because they can't necessarily maybe sit there for that long, or they're not on task for that long. And then the teacher becomes frustrated. And there's a lot of lost learning in that. So we have found that centers or those types of rotations and those things really aren't as purposeful as what I think the intent was for them. And that's kind of a place where we like to start.
Yeah, it's true. And one of those things, and it's not saying that we don't believe in like that intervention time. We just structure it a lot differently, where every student is in intervention for 30 minutes at the same time, because then that frees up 45 extra minutes for strong tier 1 instruction, where every student is getting access to the same content and skills and information that they need. So that is one place where it might not sit with everyone, but that's what we found in all of the years we've been in the classroom teaching, and in a lot of the classrooms that we've gone into to help and with designing instruction. Because a lot of times they're always like, well, we just don't have enough time. Well, this is an area where if you just structure it and look at that just a little bit differently, you could gain a little bit more time and still be extremely successful in both providing intervention, but also providing strong tier 1 instruction.
You know what else doesn't work very well? Worksheets. Lots and lots of packets and worksheets. It's just so much paper, and there's a different way. So
if you couldn't tell,
what is that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, we're all about just looking at things a little bit differently, bringing in a little bit different perspective. Just because it's been done one way for so long doesn't mean it needs to continue being done that way. Just, again, purposefully and just shifting perspective a little bit.
Yeah. And I know you talk about a 3 C's approach with clarity, consistency, and connection. Is that part of then how a teacher could say, like, maybe they've noticed the same thing that you noticed about small group instruction, is that it just doesn't appear to be working for them? And can they restructure what they're doing and creating those experiences for students around those 3 C's?
Yeah. And what's funny is that we don't really bring up the 3 as we're talking, or it just is kind of our values behind the scene, right? The clarity, you have to have clarity before you can have creativity. If you're not clear on where you're going, you can't be creative in how you're going to get there. It has no place to land. So with that, we have to know exactly where are we going to go in our instruction, where the kids need to go, and then we can kind of have that creativity. The consistency piece is you need to consistently do things that brings you joy. And consistently try something for a while and see what that looks like, and then shift as you go. And connection for me is, that's another piece that I talk a lot about is connection. And it's connection not only with the people around you, but it's also connection with the content that you're teaching. It's connection with the students that you have in your classroom and with each other. And then of course that connection with team members that you're working with. All of those three things put together. If you have those in place, that system, it shows great value in that.
Absolutely. It kind of goes back to, if you had any type of like personal goals, if you're not clear on what your goal is or where you want to go, you can't develop a path or a plan to get there. And then if you're not consistent, you think you go one day to the gym and you're going to be like buff and you've met all your goals. That's going to be, that's wrong. And then the connection, you have to have purpose and a why you're doing it. And so all of those things that we've, taken from kind of when we first met, that whole going back to when we were running, our goal was that half marathon, and all of those things, the clarity, the connection, and the consistency, we've been able to then build what we do with educators all around that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. So talking about the book and the podcast a little bit, I want to just get into so the book, your main audience is going to be teachers.
Yes.
Or would you include admin in there too?
We would love the administrator to see what it is that teachers can do, because then you know what to look for, right? So the first half of the book is kind of what is it? How do you get it implemented? All of the stories that go around that. And the back half of the book is all the ideas, right? So the first half would be for admin. You really want to know what you're looking for your teachers and how you can support them.
It's also a strong tool and resource for any type of like instructional coach in that aspect as well. If you're trying to help guide teams into planning or designing different ways to instruct students. And so like Meg said, because it gives them the how, the what, the why, and then it gives all those ideas in the back that they can take and modify and use for the kids that are in front of them.
And Jeremy and I are we're always like steeped in the tech integration side, but that the whole purpose there is it's supposed to support curriculum design, right? Not replace it. So if we were to look at your book from our vantage point, do you feel like we'd be able to take some useful things there too away as tech integration people?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of our pathways is technology. And like we said, we just look at it from a little bit different lens of what's the purpose behind it. We are all for the use of technology if you can, tell students or explain to students why it's necessary. We have been talking a lot about how we want students to be producers of the technology, not just consumers. And so not just sitting and getting, whether that's gaming, videos, whatever, but teaching them that it can be a really powerful tool in producing and showcasing knowledge as well. And so there are lots of ideas that revolve around technology, but from the lens of how you're going to use it in your design and what's the purpose behind it.
Okay. And so as far as you have the book we just talked about, but then when did the podcast start? Because you're podcasters as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
That's been a journey.
That was fun. We have Integrated Edu. We pop on, do a YouTube every month is a new topic. And then that then goes into our podcast. We started that journey, I'm sure like every YouTube / podcaster it started pretty rough, right? It was, I think we just pop on and start talking. And so then we've crafted it a little bit better. And so now educators are getting a solid message that should fit in the year that, in the year of our recording, that month, back to school, end of the year. And our goal behind that is to kind of look differently at what we're doing, but give actionable strategies and ideas for our leaders and our educators walking back, obviously, into the classrooms coming up soon when we've recorded this. So now it's become something that we just really enjoy and have gotten a lot of feedback that other educators like to listen to us on their work.
Yeah, it all started with, we love speaking, but when we are not speaking in front of people, how else can we share this information? And we're like, well, people do podcasts all the time. So we gave it a whirl. And so like Meg said, it's not just the information behind it, but we always want to make sure we're giving something to people to walk away with, to make sure that they can feel like they can be successful with any of the ideas or strategies that we've talked about. So just another platform for us to reach educators and to try to help them be successful in their classrooms.
Okay, yeah. And is there anything that, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but was there any conversations that you had where you're like, the time just went really fast, you were really like dug in deep to something, and it was like it maybe even shifted your own thinking about, just talking with one another, like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that before? Is there a certain episode?
Weirdly enough, that happens quite often, even when we don't hit record. Our conversations, a lot of times we think we should really record our car conversations because we will shift each other's mindset quickly. But then the really cool thing that will happen is we will be saying the same exact thing in a different way. And then we finally come to the realization that we're saying the same thing. And we both kind of find this frustration piece in that. And I think when we pop on the podcast, there are some really great ones on there. Especially there's one that talks all about pathways and how we utilize those. And then there's a technology. I think just recently in the last few that we've had we've honed in on kind of our beliefs and what we really think is great for educators.
And the cool thing about there being two of us is we can still speak on the same content, but yet have a little bit different view or perception of that content. And, it just kind of goes back to being, your own unique self as an educator. It's being our own unique self with one another and as speakers. But we feel like it can be beneficial to anyone listening or that has subscribed because they get kind of two different vantage points and they can kind of see where they might fit, whether it's with one of us or, shifting into their own, which is kind of a cool thing as well. So we always like to, we always do talk about we should have car chronicles to talk about and to record all the different things we talk about because it never fails. We go on a little shopping trip and we talk about, it's not going to be work, but we always end up talking about work. But
that's where the passion comes in.
I was going to say, it just kind of shows where our heart is and how much we believe in what we're doing.
Is that where it should stop, or is the car chronicles? We don't want to look at text message threads or anything like that because that might.
There's been moments. We're going to get to that later in the episode. I think is how you can tune into the other side of Megan and Kara.
Sure. Now, just following you guys on socials here over the summer, you've been very busy. You've been around in a lot of different places, different states, and you've had a chance to encounter lots of different groups of people. What are, I'm going to ask you to put your finger on the pulse of, where are teachers at right now, or educators, if you want to be more broad. What are they hungry for? What are some of the things that they're saying that surprise you?
I don't think really anything is too surprising in that is just we're kind of still trying to figure out how do we fit it all in, right? As the teachers in the classroom, it's how do I add more? How do I do more? I don't have time to do this. And that's kind of been the basis of that. And we're wanting to do really well for our students. But what happens is that in doing that with fidelity of the things that come in or trying to follow a certain program, it's not meeting the needs of the educator or the students. And then it has its faults. And so I think the struggle with that is how do they meet the needs of all of their kids sitting in front of them with what they have? As an administrator's viewpoint, we have some teachers doing really great work, and then we have some teachers that need help. And how do we get all the teachers on board of what the great teachers are doing? And that's where we come in to help build that bridge. Every teacher wants to be a great teacher. They just might not know how to yet, or the things that are working for them. And so we help build that bridge to meet the needs for that administrator to that teacher. So I think that'd probably be the number one thing that we saw this summer. And we had, there are such great educators from all of the places that we've been this summer. I couldn't have asked for for a better experience with all of them and all of their amazing things that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing as educators listen to us speak is you are doing great things in your classroom. You are doing the best work that you can do. And we want to cheer you on. Keep doing those amazing things. And when it feels like the right thing and you know it feels like the right thing, to do it anyways and see what happens, and get your kids involved in their learning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So with, thinking of where you've been and where you're headed, what does your platform look like 2-3 years from now?
Oh,
Are you still doing this? Is it ramped up and you're going above and beyond, or is it just like, yeah, we're just living in the moment?
Oh, this is where you're going to see the yin and yang. This is where we have our yin and yang.
Yeah.
Kara, you go first.
Well, I like to say I'm very much we need to make sure we're living in the present moment, making sure that we are doing the best we can right now, serving those that are right in front of us. And Meg, she's really good at getting me outside my comfort zone because she is a big dreamer and she has big goals and big plans. And so that's where we kind of balance each other out, where I'm like, let's try to, soak this in while we're here and like pour into the people that we have right here. And she's like, yes. And we're going to keep pushing forward. And so, yeah, our goal is both, honestly. It's kind of contradictory to say that, but we want to live in the moment that we are, but yet we're still looking ahead and still looking forward to grow and to continue to reach as many educators as possible.
Yeah, I am a big dreamer, like go big. And I think eventually in the next 2 to 3 years, I would love Integrated to be that consulting group of educators, because there's only 2 of us, to come in and help build those bridges, to help teachers feel confident in what they're teaching, to really put in everything that we've talked about on this podcast. And I absolutely love speaking. I love getting in front of educators. I love helping. And so to think that would ever end is kind of heart-wrenching. So it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger and better. Yes. And Kara's going to be our discerner when I try to do way too much.
Awesome. Well, you're obviously both very passionate about what you're doing. That's awesome to see. So we appreciate you taking the time to give us insights about your process and about Integrated. And we want to go into, we always do this with our guests. We go into a lightning round. These are meant to just be, fun questions to get to know the guests a little bit more, and not so much on the serious side. There are maybe some questions that tie in, but most of them are going to be personal. So we're going to start off with this one, and we'll have you both answer. What's a funny or frustrating travel story for us?
Oh, okay. Oh. Just one, not going to happen. But we do have, this is a plugin. It's a shameless plugin. There's Adventures of Kara and Meg on TikTok, where we go on and we share the frustrations and all the feelings when we travel and do the things. But most of the time, the frustrations come because I am living in the moment, if you will, and I don't really pay attention to my surroundings. I get lost frequently, and Kara brings us on tack. So we're in Pensacola, Florida. We have 2 very distinct jobs. I drive. She navigates. Mm-hmm. She decides that is not how those jobs are going to go, and we switch roles. That doesn't work out well. So we end up in not the right place because I am too stubborn to let Google tell us where to go. I'm going to tell you where to go. And we don't go in the right direction most of the time. We saw really great things. Kara became frustrated, which usually doesn't happen. Long story short, we saw a wonderful beach, some ocean water, and finally our location of the hotel. Needless to say, I now drive all the time, and Kara tells me where to go.
Yeah, with traveling together, being, best friends and speaking partners, it's an outlet for us just to be like, kind of like you were saying, it maybe not such the serious side of us, but kind of the friendship side of what we have as well. And so there's so many, every single trip, there's something. We just currently did a very local conference, and yet there's still stories to share, and we only drove 2 hours. And so that TikTok channel was just because we're like, just a fun outlet for us, something a little bit more creative and people to
And
see
I think
us.
it's a really good travel tips. Like
That's true.
they also, there's going to be some travel tips involved in that, like what not to do in this situation. So.
Yeah, I could think of worse places to get lost than Pensacola. And I mean, that's.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a beautiful scenic drive.
Yeah. So if you could change one thing about how professional development is developed, delivered, what would you change?
The engagement and how it's being delivered. If students don't want sit and get, neither do us. So it's how, if we're designing all these great things for students, we need to also design our PD that way. And that is one thing that Kara and I make sure that we do every single time is that we're designing professional learning for the adult sitting in front of us that's engaging, relevant, and you can take it back the next day.
Absolutely. And consistent PD, not just a one and done thinking it's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
We're all about kind of that consulting piece, like having us throughout the entire year. So that way you can feel successful in any implementation process, whether that's us or whatever it is that you're implementing in your school or your building. But the one and done, they never work. And so like if you're wanting true change, true impact, it needs to be a long-term thing, not just a quick sit and get one and done.
All right. So this next one you have to answer for each other.
Ooh.
And you have to tell what is the other one's go-to travel snack.
I know that.
100%. Okay. Kara needs a Diet Coke and probably that black bag popcorn, white cheesy stuff.
It's
the smart pot. I don't know what it's called. I just know where to find it.
The popcorn.
Yeah. Like something salty.
Yep.
Okay.
That's very true. Megs, she recently has also got on to the Diet Coke trend as well. And then she loves her hot tamales. Yes. So those would be her little travel pick-me-up, guilty pleasure.
If Kara needs sweet, we're going with some peanut butter M&Ms. It really depends on our mood, but
yep.
Depends on if you're lost or not, basically. Like
I just keep them stacked in my purse just in case. And so
the emergency.
I'm like, here's peanut butter. It's like, here's your Snickers. Oh, goodness.
Stop getting hangry on me here.
Just feed Kara breakfast and things will go just fine.
I love breakfast. Breakfast is, if I don't get any other meal, breakfast is my go-to for sure.
What's a favorite book, show, or movie that you're into right now?
Oh,
she will never stop telling you the list.
I am a huge reader. I love to read. I will read fiction. I love a good memoir.
What's your one right now? What do you like? What are you reading?
Right now I'm reading I believe it's called A Stolen Life by J.C. Dugard. It's a memoir. She was the one that was kidnapped, but then they found her years later. And so I'm currently reading that, a memoir. And then I'm also digging into a professional development book, a Todd Whitaker professional development book as well, What Great Teachers Do Differently. But those are just my current two. And then, when you're traveling or on family vacation, there's always the fun reads, the ones that you don't really have to think about too hard.
Yeah.
But my list could go on and on. But
I'm more of a mystery thriller type book and then PD mixed in. Like all our background, if you're watching us, I love to pick up a good PD book for pastime.
Yeah. And if we're in the hotel room, any type of downtime are the TV shows. It's either Friends or Big Bang Theory. Any type of reruns on those two shows, those are our go-tos. Any current TV shows, I don't have time to watch. The only time we really watch TV is when we're traveling and it's late at night and we just need some downtime. But those are the two go-to shows.
Okay, so if you're not traveling and you're back home in Wyoming, what's your favorite place to go?
We have this really great little pizza joint that started as this little truck, and now they have this really wonderful restaurant called Pizza Corella, and it's wood fire pizza. They have dill pickle chicken wings. So if I were to pick a place to go eat, it'd be there. Travel wise, like to go somewhere, we have just really great places that are only like an hour away that we can just kind of go and just be in the space of nature.
Mhm.
And so any of that kind of stuff would be my go-to. It's
Yeah.
quiet.
My little family, we really enjoy, there's a local Mexican restaurant just right down the road from us. And so that's kind of our go-to out to eat spot. Again, local mom and pop shop type of eating. It's called Los Compadres, and we absolutely love it. And then, yeah, like kind of like Meg said, we live in a really cool spot where there's mountains on either side of us, an hour in any direction. And so if we want just kind of a little escape, we will head in either direction and kind of go escape for a day or a weekend and just kind of, you know, hang out at the lake or whatever it might be, just to kind of reconnect and enjoy the beautiful area that we live in.
Yeah. Unless you bring my family. I have 3 boys. And so it's usually not as quiet. And we like to paddleboard. So I will kind of go away and they will try to push off paddleboards. It's just, they're very lovely children.
As quiet as it can be with, you know, 4 kids and then 3 kids.
Yes.
You know, relative.
Well, one last question here. So David and I were hosting a 2-day conference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kara, you're our keynote speaker the first day. Meg, you're the second day. And we've got the music queued up, ready to play to fire up the audience here. What's going to be the keynote walk-up song that you guys would like played?
Well, depends on the vibe of the conference. I could probably choose a keynote song from just about any genre. But I have like a top 2. One would be Champion by Carrie Underwood. Kind of like more of a upbeat, rock-ish type of song, really fun. And then if we're looking for just kind of like upbeat but not so hard, Good Day by Forrest Frank is also a fun one that I would probably throw in there.
Okay. So I don't have an immediate answer for this. We chatted a little bit before this and I thought, I don't have a keynote song. I walk up to whatever you got me. I feel like you're going to know my vibe once we show up and that you're ready, especially if I'm on day 2. And so, whatever song Kara doesn't use, I would like to go ahead and just take her second.
Yeah, but if you think so, we play music in our sessions and in our PDs and stuff. You really like Can't Stop the Feeling.
Oh, I do like that.
Like
That's
you
my
always
song.
jam out to that song when we play it. So
There
that
it
could
is.
at least be, you know, on the list.
There it is. Can't Stop the Feeling.
Little Justin Timberlake.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we want to just give you a chance here for those that are listening. Where can people find you? What type of things do you have coming up, for things that you want to plug? Obviously, the book, all the things that we can add to our notes so people can access that.
Yeah, you can find us on every social media handle. Kara does an amazing job pushing us out through there. So Instagram, Facebook, you name it. Like we said before, we have that podcast and YouTube channel, Integrated Edu. We have our book. It's on Youthlight is our publisher, or on Amazon, that Elevated Educator. And coming up wise, we get to work with a lot of schools coming up, that back to school. We are at a few conferences coming up. So we're just kind of everywhere doing the things. And of course we have some teacher coaching things that we're doing also. So educators that kind of are needing some one-off things and they want some help planning. We're doing that kind of work too.
Yeah, we're very excited. All of our socials, our handle is Integrated K-12. LinkedIn is Integrated EDU, same as our YouTube. So, and we post kind of where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing. So if you're curious where we're going to be at in the next, we have a couple conferences coming up in the next couple months, as well as just kind of the schools and coaching and things like that. But make sure to check us out there. We have
It's always great when some educators figure out where we're going to be and then they go to that conference.
Yeah,
so they can see us. We absolutely love that.
We have had that before, and it's pretty amazing to see, because you're like, you just don't expect that to happen to you when you first start speaking and doing the things. You're like, you just never expect that to happen. So we have had it, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
very cool.
Okay, is Minnesota on the list yet?
Actually, yes.
Oh, yes.
It is not at 2027. So I'll have to talk about that.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep. The most current will be in Biloxi, Mississippi, in September.
There's a Catalyst conference
So
Yeah,
looking
it'll be
forward
great.
to that.
Awesome. Well, everybody go check out Kara and Meg on the socials. Make sure if you're close to an event and you can make it, go check that out too. But Kara, Meg, we want to just thank you again for joining us and telling us all about your work.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having us. We appreciate you.